My name is Angelique, and I recently completed my studies at university. I am a novice in my current job. Angelique, I am undergoing new employee training, similar to an orientation during my day off. My closest friend, whom I have known since kindergarten and throughout high school, asked me with curiosity about it. Although we attended the same college, we pursued different majors. She went on to graduate school, so she is interested in my experience as a working adult. It may be hard to believe, but we begin each day with a morning jog. They claim it helps build our endurance. Really? Everyone does it? She exclaimed, getting a glimpse of the challenges of working life. Well, unless there is a specific reason, all employees up to their second year are required to participate. Those with 3 or more years of experience are exempt, but I believe about half of the entire company still takes part. The other half engage in activities like crosswords or brain training exercises. Whoa, that's interesting. I completely skipped the exercise part though. She chuckled in a peculiar manner. Our company motto is also quite unique. It goes something like, always prioritize health, work diligently, enjoy leisure, and live a long and active life. Therefore, for the first 30 minutes after starting work, we have time for physical and mental exercises. That is truly distinctive. Not that I, who am not even a working adult yet, should have an opinion, but it feels like an extension of a club or group in school, where I can interact with people of all ages and departments. It's fun. I genuinely love the company I have joined, but don't you appear somewhat fatigued? You're really perceptive. Upon encountering my closest companion's astute observation, I was caught off guard. Indeed, the overall ambience at the company is satisfactory, but there exists a colossal obstacle in the form of an exceedingly arrogant individual who impedes my progress. Do you wish to resign? Ah, I comprehend now. It appears that you lack determination. The woman who holds the position of my manager is expressing her discontent with a deep sigh during a phone conversation with a part-time employee who has been absent for several days. Her loud voice, intended to be heard, seems to be imbued with malevolence, forcing the other person into a difficult situation. This manager, who is whispered about as the queen of destructive criticism, possesses the power to utterly demoralize those on the receiving end of her words. She casually announces that she will be taking a break, only to suddenly disappear for days, neglecting her responsibilities. And now she claims she is quitting. How carefree. Just because she is a part-time employee does not mean I will allow her to escape the consequences. I will persist until the very end. This situation surpasses mere sarcasm. It is truly terrifying. On the last day that the part-time employee came into work, I noticed her body tense up and tears welling up in her eyes. What is troubling you? Are you all right? She had been reprimanded by the manager once again. As she spoke, she trembled. It must have required immense courage for her to make this phone call. Since the manager has no choice but to accept her resignation, it would be best to let her go without any further sarcastic remarks. Instead, I found myself releasing a sigh. It has been approximately a month since I joined the company, taking into account the initial period of adjustment. Throughout the week, I had the opportunity to learn from various departments within the company. Interestingly, I encountered similar situations on 2 occasions within a short span of 3 weeks. It was quite inconvenient as one particular individual, who hardly does her work, seemed to bring down the morale of everyone else. All I did was point out this observation. Interestingly, the manager, who is secretly referred to as the Empress within the company, always has deep wrinkles between her eyebrows. It seems like a challenging task to replace her, so it would only be natural for her to consider finding a replacement and completing the handover before she decides to quit. This thought created tension among the employees, as the manager sought agreement from everyone. Although everyone pretended to be focused on their work, nodding without making eye contact, it was clear that there was an underlying unease. However, amidst this tense atmosphere, the manager suddenly turned her attention towards me, asking if I had a problem. Caught off guard, I found myself under the scrutinizing gaze of the Empress. She emphasized that once we receive our salary, we should take responsibility for our work. Reluctantly, I agreed, knowing that there was no other response I could give. It was evident that the manager was fully aware of this dynamic and deliberately directed the question at me. She questioned whether it was acceptable to act selfishly in the workplace, to which I replied with a hesitant no. After all, selfishness is detrimental to the overall work environment. I was about to argue my point further, but the manager's loud voice abruptly cut me off. In the end, I wasn't allowed to say anything more. I regret not being able to do anything for the part-timer who was crying at that moment. I also regret not standing up to the manager and advocating for fairness. Her approach. That is certain to cause you anxiety. I apologize. I simply keep expressing dissatisfaction. I was meant to be boasting about the company, but before I realized it, it was all just one-sided grievances. For me, it's fine. It's fine. You can't keep things like that bottled up, and it's not your fault. You can't argue back. If you resist too much, you'll be the next target. A manager who confuses power and authority is the worst, right? Be careful not to get on her bad side. Okay, thanks. While expressing my appreciation to my closest friend, I finally brought up the main subject about the trip. I believe I can cover the expenses with my savings from part-time work during college and my initial salary. I'm considering taking my grandparents to the resort you mentioned to me before. Do you think they will be pleased? This was the actual matter I wanted to discuss. She is well informed about travel, having done so extensively with her family. Naturally, the outcome was one that even my particular grandmother was completely content with. You can't go wrong. My closest friend gave her approval with a smile. I'm glad. I truly want to make it a positive memory since we're doing it. I was planning a vacation with my grandparents using the money I had carefully saved up. My grandparents are the ones who raised me in place of my parents who passed away when I was young. I wanted to give something back to the two of them who always prioritized me and supported me. So I had been saving money from part-time jobs since my time in college, gifting them a relaxing stay in a luxurious setting. With your accumulated savings and first paycheck, it is certain that your grandparents will be overjoyed. As I saw my friend smile, my own cheeks relaxed. However, it was Friday afternoon, the day before our planned trip. Just then, the manager called me over to her desk. With an air of authority, she instructed me to categorize and analyze a stack of documents, which would be needed at the beginning of the following week. The manager wore an unusually vibrant lipstick and had a self-satisfied grin on her face. Suddenly, I found myself faced with a mountain of thick documents, causing my eyes to widen in surprise. Sorting and classifying them alone would likely take an entire day, not to mention the additional task of analyzing them. To add to my confusion, the manager spoke with a triumphant tone, saying, "I'm glad you understand my orders. You have been neglecting instructions lately, you know." Unable to tolerate the unjust accusations, I decided to stand my ground. I hate to point this out, but it's already Friday, and there are only 2 hours left until the end of the day. It's simply impossible to finish these documents by the beginning of next week. I tried to respond as calmly as possible, but ever since our part-time worker left, it seems that the manager has targeted me as her next victim and has been escalating her mistreatment. She has excluded me from office memos, given incorrect instructions, and then blamed me for misunderstanding. On top of that, she piles on an unbearable workload, an overwhelming volume of work, which conflicts with my eagerly anticipated break, appeared before me. Despite my objections, the manager seemed unaffected and suggested that I tackle it at the beginning of the week. They even mentioned that it would be acceptable for me to come in over the weekend to complete it. Additionally, they emphasized the confidentiality of the documents and advised against taking them home. As I tried to voice my concerns, the manager informed me that they had a meeting soon and would be leaving directly from the office today. Without further ado, they left a stack of papers on my desk and departed. The following day was meticulously planned as I embarked on a journey under the open sky with my grandparents. Observing my fatigue and constant yawning, my grandparents expressed their worries about my well-being. They questioned whether staying up all night and then going on a trip was a wise decision, suggesting that we should have canceled. assuring them that I was fine and looking forward to the trip. I brushed off their concerns. However, my grandparents remained concerned about my late-night work and last-minute arrival before our departure, despite my prior notification. It seemed that I had unintentionally caused them anxiety. Determined to make this trip special and enjoyable, I lifted my spirits and directed a smile towards my grandparents. I pointed out the breathtaking view and the beauty of the sea, assuring them not to worry about me as I had worked hard to indulge in delicious food, relax in hot springs, and sleep soundly on a comfortable bed. My optimistic attitude finally allowed my grandparents to relax and enjoy the view with relieved expressions. Little did they know that a nightmare was about to unfold. Were you able to complete the task I requested? You didn't quit, did you? A familiar voice surprised me while I was walking alone in the inn after checking in. Why did you choose this place? The manager snorted and left, as if hearing my thoughts. I wanted to teach you a lesson by ruining your weekend. I didn't think it would actually happen, but it seems you ignored my instructions, didn't you? The manager's words stuck with me like a curse, and I suddenly felt dizzy. So you purposely gave me an unreasonable task to ruin my vacation. This made me angry, but how did you know about my plans? I knew the manager had keen hearing, but this was astonishing. You were talking loudly during break time, discussing where and when you were going. I must admit, I was jealous of your excitement and the praise you received from everyone. It was quite amusing. You were eavesdropping. You were the one talking loudly. Realizing that my harmless conversations with colleagues were being carefully listened to, I felt a chill. Besides, I'm surprised that this inn is too fancy for you. Excuse me? I tilted my head in confusion, and the manager responded with her usual huh. You don't understand. It's unpleasant to see commoners like you wandering around. Look, there's a rundown inn next door that suits you better. I don't understand what you mean. I know you find me unpleasant, but the rest is just insults and harassment, right? Just as my anger was about to. In the midst of boiling emotions, an unexpected incident occurred. A voice of support emerged from behind me, where my grandparents, whom I believed were enjoying a cup of tea, stood. Judging by their expressions, it seemed that they had overheard most of my conversation with the manager. In a rush, I attempted to explain the situation, but my grandfather interrupted me and introduced himself to the manager. He revealed that he was Angelique's grandfather and had been her guardian for many years. Furthermore, he disclosed his role as the honorary chairman of the trading company that had recently been in discussions with the manager's company. Upon hearing this, the manager's face turned pale. The realization that he was in the presence of the honorary chairman of the industry struck him. However, he noted that Angelique's last name differed from that of the employees. This was intentional, as it prevented her from being treated differently due to her affiliation with a renowned family in the business world. My grandfather expressed his concern for his precious granddaughter, hoping that she would not face any difficulties in her workplace. The manager, now visibly flustered, apologized profusely, admitting his ignorance and lack of manners. In contrast to the manager's unease, my grandfather remained composed. He calmly informed the manager that he would need to relay a message to the CEO of the company. He made it clear that he was not interested in conducting business with a company that had a manager displaying such rudeness. As the manager's voice grew shrill in protest, my grandfather ignored him and continued speaking. The manager, frozen in place and sweating profusely, had no choice but to listen. My granddaughter recently joined a company with a fantastic motto: maintain good health, work diligently, play hard, and live a long life. I used to believe that having eccentric managers was necessary for the company's growth. However, your personality and behavior are actually detrimental, he concluded. If you disagree with me, you can simply ignore it or spread negative rumors about me. My granddaughter managed to record all of this with her camera. Let's see whose side the world will take. With that, he left the scene. As my grandfather had advised, I had been recording our trip from the very beginning, capturing precious memories with my grandparents. I had almost forgotten about the camera, but it was still rolling at that moment. The manager, trembling, tried to hold onto my grandfather, but he was sternly told that it was too late. The manager collapsed right then and there. Wait a minute, Can't you do something to help? I asked, desperately hoping for a resolution. After being coldly dismissed by my grandfather, surprisingly, the manager turned to me for assistance. I refuse. You always say there's nothing a newcomer like me can do, I replied, returning the sarcasm she had previously directed towards me. Despite my anger, I managed to keep it in check and even flashed a smile. Yeah, maybe I could be an actress too, I thought to myself. At the start of the following week, there was an issue with the manager at work. The executive who led the running club stood tall in our department since the morning. Our company prides itself on promoting a healthy lifestyle, working hard, and enjoying leisure activities. Embracing a lengthy lifespan is highly valued, but this does not imply the enforcement of labor, especially if it jeopardizes the well-being of individuals both physically and mentally. Executives who burden their subordinates with an excessive workload are simply displaying their incompetence in management. The voice of the managing director reverberated throughout the office, interrupting the tranquility of the morning. Apologies for the interruption, the manager replied, taken aback by the unexpected confrontation. She was about to inquire further, maintaining her composure despite clenching her fist, but the executive swiftly interjected. Here we have the time cards from last Friday until today. The executive presented the records. 5 employees worked from Friday through Saturday morning. 3 individuals worked on their scheduled days off over the weekend, and Angelique arrived early this morning. The manager's confusion grew as she examined the presented records. What does this mean? She asked, seeking clarification. Prompted by the managing director, I stepped forward to explain to the bewildered manager. If I may, you instructed me to organize and analyze a significant amount of data by the beginning of the week. You also stated that I should work during holidays if necessary. However, it was impossible for me to accomplish this task alone. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to consult with my colleagues, both within and outside of my department. Through their cooperation, we managed to complete the assignment as per your instructions, utilizing the time and manpower I just mentioned. As I relayed this information, it became apparent that the members of the running club, who assisted us this time, were present during the executive's meeting. I had the chance to express my gratitude once again. I only worked from Friday night until Saturday morning and early this morning. After returning from the trip, I was not much of a help, but thank you so much for assisting me. When I bowed, I received kind words in response, such as we assist each other during difficult times, and that's what friends are for. Finally, the manager seemed to understand the situation. This time, she approached me, saying, "Crossing departments, you say? I did not authorize such a thing." She appeared determined to blame me for exceeding her authority. However, I had the approval of the managing director. Upon hearing the managing director's words, the manager was shocked and frozen in place. The newcomer in our running group, who always had a smile on her face, was in deep trouble. When I learned about the situation, I discovered that they had been burdened with an unreasonable workload. It would have been acceptable to leave them alone, but since it was necessary work for the company, I took charge and gained everyone's cooperation. I apologized for the post-approval, but first, the managing director stared at the manager. I cannot forgive the malicious intent behind burdening a hardworking employee who is trying to take care of their grandparents with an impossible task, simply for the sake of harassment. These were the most powerful words I had ever heard the managing director say. The managing director's expression softened slightly. The other day, my grandchild, who came to visit me, cooked some fried eggs. They recently learned how to make them, and they turned out to be excessively delicious. Burned and even contained eggshells in them, a genuine disaster, but it was the initial occasion my grandchild had prepared something with such commitment. To me, it was the finest celebration ever. He spoke, overlapping his emotions for his grandchild with the feelings a manager should possess for their subordinates. In spite of the kitchen being a total mess for my grandchild's cooking, my spouse was in high spirits all day. That's just how it is. When I informed them it was delicious, the proud smile on the young face was the most charming thing. The managing director's unexpected account brought tears to the employees' eyes as they shared recollections of their own grandparents. I still can't forget the flavor of the rice porridge my grandma made me when I was sick, and the pancake my grandpa placed on me, saying pain, go away, appeared to heal me faster. While almost bursting out laughing at the managing director's adoring grandparents' tales, I felt a lump in my throat, wondering if a gift for their grandparents could evoke such an emotional reaction. The people who assisted me that day told me, as I bowed, "If you believe you're causing trouble, the best way to show us respect is to go and have as much fun as possible." And they sent me off on my journey. I adore this company, all of you, and of course my job. That's why it's so frustrating to witness part-time workers and employees like me being targeted and quitting due to unreasonable demands. Saying this with all the courage I could gather, a warm round of applause. There was a burst of applause from the people surrounding them, although the manager appeared annoyed by this and confronted them. "Do you believe it is acceptable to speak in such a manner?" The managing director swiftly reprimanded her. "Quiet. If you wish to remain employed with this company, you will forfeit all of your privileges and be demoted to the same level as a new employee. Naturally, you will start from today, so the employee who joined slightly before you, Angelique, will be your superior. You should exercise caution with your words." Upon hearing that the president had also approved, the manager vigorously shook her head and shouted, "No, I will not accept this." However, there was no assistance for her. Instead, everyone directed cold glares towards her. If you are dissatisfied, you are welcome to submit a resignation letter at any time. Well, what now? This marked the downfall of the manager known as the Empress. Subsequently, she was literally demoted to a regular employee. She remained with the company for a short while, but perhaps she couldn't handle the harsh treatment she was receiving because one day she simply stopped coming in. A few days later, her resignation letter arrived in the mail. Around that time, our company received media coverage. The TV show titled Morning Exercise, Bonds Beyond Titles, aired and even discussed me and my grandparents. I later learned that the viewers admired our company's policy of not tolerating unfairness. The unjust female manager remained anonymous, but the clients clearly knew who she was. Rumor has it that she is not well regarded. The likelihood of securing employment in the same field once more is uncertain. Meanwhile, our organization managed to conduct business with my grandfather's company seamlessly. Working with relatives can be somewhat awkward, but it also keeps me alert. Additionally, I have gained even more popularity within the company due to my noteworthy confrontation with the female manager. Wow, you're so motivated. I desire to collaborate with you once I complete my postgraduate studies, as my closest friend recently informed me. I hope that becomes a reality. I have resumed saving money because I wish to travel with my grandparents without any concerns this time. It will require time as I can only save gradually, but please be patient, Grandma and Grandpa. I will continue to value my valuable time